future, talk radio will actually educate, inspire, and make you think. The future is now. Topics and music that affect your life from Universal Broadcasting Network. Tune in at ubnradio.com.
She's passionate about telling stories of amazing women who are rocking the world and empowering women to live, love, and thrive. Here's your host, Catherine Gray.
Hi, welcome to Live, Love, Thrive. Happy to have you with us today. And today we are going to be talking with author Sharon Weil about her new book, Changeability, and how change can empower us. And then later in the show, we're going to be talking with Dimple Thakkar. She's an award-winning social media expert. She started her career in New York, working with music icons like Justin Timberlake and Britney Spears, and then came to Los Angeles and started her own successful business. So we'll talk with Dimple later in the show. But first, here is author extraordinaire Sharon Weil. Hi, how are you? Good. I know this is one of a couple books that you have.
Yes, This is the most recent book about change.
Yeah, and tell me the full title.
So it's called Changeability, How Artists, Activists, and Awakeners Navigate Change. And the way I came to write this book was that I did a podcast called Passing for Normal, Conversations with Artists, Activists, and Awakeners.
Passing for Normal. Oh, I couldn't have been on that show.
Yeah, we're all passing for normal. And I was talking to people who were making change. I was really interested in the topic of how do people make change? Why do they make change? I was talking to people who were environmental activists, social change activists, writers, painters, people who are revisioning medicine, spiritual people, and really asking how it is that they work with change and what is necessary for change and what does it take to be brave in the face of change. How do you become brave when you're afraid to step out and do something?
Right.
And from the podcast, I started to hear certain commonalities in what they were saying in their approaches.
Right.
And it caused me to write it down and put it into this book, Changeability.
That sounds very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
I had asked you originally, what was the catalyst to your starting this project, even doing the podcast conversations in the first place. And one of the things that you told me about was that you'd lost a sister to breast cancer.
That's
I'm
right.
so sorry. And that kind of was tell me how that was kind of the beginnings of this project or
well,
the seedlings of it.
I think that everything we do leads to the next thing that we do, and it leads to the next thing that we do.
Yep.
And, one of the things that I talk about in terms of how I look at change is that change is always moving all the time.
Right.
And that it's always...
Change never stops.
Change never stops, and
Right.
it's always evolving. My dear sister passed away from breast cancer in 2006.
Oh, wow.
And she was very politically active, environmentally active, very, very philanthropically oriented. And before she died, she asked a number of her friends who were all involved in nonprofit organizations or worked on the funding side of grant making to come together and form a foundation to further her values.
What a cool legacy.
It was an amazing legacy, and it was an amazing process of actually grieving.
Yeah.
Because many of the people knew her well, and in actually thinking about what is it that she would want.
Right.
It was like I had to crawl inside her skin, and in that way she continued to live on, and every time we made a grant and we identified,
In her honor.
in her honor.
That's
and
so awesome.
It was an amazing way. I really suggest it, even if you have $10, if you have $20, to
do something in their memory.
in someone's memory,
Yeah,
really
love that.
further it along. But we were able to fund some amazing people, some amazing change makers. And so I got to be up close and personal with a lot of people who are out there doing amazing work in terms of social change, in terms of social justice.
That's the way I feel with this project. I
That's
get to meet the most amazing women and people that are really making things happen and doing what their life purpose is. And obviously yours is to write about this and to help create change and make people aware of what change involves and why it's necessary.
And why it's necessary. And Well, it's always happening all the time, no matter
Whether you
what.
want it to or not.
Whether you want it
Yeah.
to or not. And so the key is, how do we meet change?
Right.
How do we meet it? How do we maximize it? How do we align with the movement of change? If change is moving all the time, it's never stopping, right? It's
Right.
always happening from breath to breath, from moment to moment. We're always changing. This moment is different from this moment.
Right.
Is different from this moment, right?
Right.
And so how do we align with the movement of change? How do we find where that change is going and align with it, so I'm not creating so much resistance to change? You know?
So in this book, you have these 7 principles that you suggest people adhere to deal with change.
That's right. So there's
Yeah.
7 principles of change that I identify in
And
the
that's
book.
from your talk in the podcast with these people that were change makers and awakeners and artists.
That's right. I started
Yeah.
to hear common things.
Yeah.
And from that, I said, okay, well, so these are the common things. And the first things I started hearing about was listen deeply, that a lot of the people who I was speaking to decide their course by listening and seeing what's going on and getting feedback from, like they try something and then they listen to say, was that working?
Right.
Rather than having a plan and just barreling through.
Right.
They're
like having an agenda, but kind of listening to their insides and to
listening to their
feedback
inside,
and-
or to, like, is this
Feedback,
working? Am
yeah.
I, like you're doing a podcast and you put it out and you say,
Right.
well, is this working? Do I
Right.
have an audience? And if I don't have an audience, what do I need to do to change?
Right.
How do I change it? How do I change it? So on the one hand, having a strong agenda, a
Yeah.
strong intention, but on the other hand, having a lot of flexibility in reading the water, so to
So
speak.
in other words, you could have the vision or the goal, but it doesn't have to be a set idea on how to get there. You have to be kind of fluid.
You need to be very
Yeah.
fluid, and you have to have a lot of flexibility. So, the word that I coined, changeability, has to do with navigating change in a way that is more effective, flexible, and easy. And therefore easy, because we want to ultimately be able to have ease with change instead
Right.
of being so overwhelmed.
Right,
Like so
instead of
many
swimming
people.
upstream.
People are so overwhelmed, right?
Right.
So listening deeply. So the 7 principles are: bring awareness. The first thing I need to do is just be aware that there's a change going on, or that a change needs to happen, or sometimes I need to bring awareness to other people. Hey, I'm doing this conference in November. I want you
Yeah.
to become aware of it, right?
Right.
Talking about you.
Yes.
Not
Thank
me.
you.
Yeah. Bring awareness.
Thanks for the plug.
Yeah. Listen deeply.
Yeah.
Which we just talked about. Find community.
Right.
Which means find support, find help. I find that most people are not asking for enough help. They don't have enough support for whatever change they're going through. And that support can be from friends, it can be from like-minded people, it can be from experts, it can be from a spiritual practice.
Right.
But just the idea of finding support,
Yeah.
because change is not easy.
Right.
It's always disruptive. It's always disorienting us. So you need a community. You need some sort of support.
I always say community is so important to not just change, but your well-being, your inner self, it's tied to your happiness, I believe, having
Absolutely.
community around
Well,
you.
we're communal beings.
Yeah.
We're social beings. We're tribal beings. We're not meant to be alone.
Right.
We're not meant to do anything alone.
And that's not to say not have alone time. People might mix that up.
Yeah.
But having community to support whatever endeavors you're doing.
That's right.
I was just talking to someone the other day about that book, Outliers, and how it had this part of it where they talked about there was a community of people who were like living long, healthy lives. And they were trying to figure out, why is it? What is it? Is it the soil? Is it something they're eating? Is it hereditary? And they came to find out it was because they had community. Every day they were engaging with neighbors and laughter and talk and love. And that those things give people a longer, richer, healthier life.
Of course they do. Of
Yeah.
course they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the show that you're doing now, this is about creating supports for people who are trying to make change in their life. This is
Right.
exactly what you're doing, is you're providing a resource, a reference, a support for people who want to make change, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, so then the next principle is proceed incrementally, which means that even if you have a long-term goal, that really it's always achieved in small steps, and those steps are not necessarily in a straight line. Sometimes they meander, sometimes they go back and forth. But that, if you take any large task and break it up into smaller pieces,
Right.
there's more gratification.
Right.
There's more feeling of possibility.
Yeah.
In some of the activists that I speak to who I feel like are sort of working for hopeless causes,
Right.
I say, how do you do this? How
Right.
do you retain your hope? And they say, we celebrate every little victory.
Right.
Every single one, because
Right.
you don't know there's going to be another one or
Yeah.
when there's going to be another one. And so you could look at every victory or as a step, as an increment.
Right.
And so to proceed.
Because like world peace is kind of big,
That's right.
but
But
1
we'll-
inch at a time.
That's right. We will achieve
Yeah.
it 1 inch at a time, one
Right.
act at a time.
Right.
Right.
One person at a
One
time.
person at a time. And
Yeah.
so, when people want to make a contribution with their lives, they don't have to do a million things, and it doesn't have to be grandiose. It can be
Right.
just one small act.
Yeah.
And then when you're ready, another small act.
Yeah.
And then when you're ready, another small act.
Right. I
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
Make it bite size.
Bite size,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So then align with nature, which speaks
Oh,
to
I love
proper
that.
timing,
Yeah.
which means that there often is a better timing for the change that you want to make.
Okay.
Whether you're looking at the seasons, like I'll often start a project in the spring when when the energies of renewal are coming and letting it cook over the summer and bringing it into a harvest
Right.
in the fall, and especially for people who actually live in winter climates, not like us here in
Right.
Southern
Right. We're
California.
spoiled.
The winter is a time for going inward.
Yeah.
It's a time for resting, for reflecting, for conserving energy, just like the trees.
Right.
The sap gathers and it goes down into the roots, and it's resting until it's called forward into action. So
Yeah.
sometimes if you look at that within yourself, if you're in a winter, it may not be the time to be all out there.
Yeah.
And if you're feeling like I'm trying to be out there, but nothing's working, it's like,
Yeah.
look at the timing.
Right. Because I always say it should like happen. It shouldn't be like you have to push for it. It's just like let it happen.
Right.
And so I think that is part of listening to your insides. Is it the right time
That's
to do
right.
this
That's
or that?
right. So I'm listening and I'm aligning with nature. This is why some people use astrologers, for instance, to
Right.
help them, understand more about cycles of opportunity for them, or
Right.
people who spend a lot of time in nature learn a lot about how the river runs.
Right.
And
Like we're in a Mercury retrograde right now. And
That's
some
right.
people will say, don't sign a contract.
That's right.
Yeah.
So if you're frustrated, just wait a little
Yeah.
bit, and then you'll see that things will eventually change, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But like you
align-
said, it should be easy.
Yes.
If you're in the right place, the right time, it should be happening with ease.
That's right.
If it's
And
not happening with ease, you're probably not on the right track.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, and this is where this wheel of change that I'm saying really works. If you find that you're stuck in a change, then you look at these 7 principles and you say, okay, what am I not doing enough of? Am I not listening deeply? Am I not aligned with the proper timing?
Do I not have community?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I'm about to, so the last 2 are have hope.
Have hope.
Which is
okay.
we need hope. We won't do anything. Why bother
Yeah.
unless you have hopes?
Right.
But hope is something that's light and it's airy and it has to be renewed all the time. Sometimes people say, well, hope isn't enough. It could just but hope is we wouldn't do it. We wouldn't try if we
Sure.
didn't have hope. So we need
Yeah,
hope,
right.
and we need to spark fire. And by spark fire, I mean have courage, have passion, have love. Find a compelling reason why.
Right. And I know you said no change ever happens without love.
That's
like
right.
It's a love of wanting to do something, a
That's-
love wanting to empower women, or a love of wanting to make change or make peace or help dogs or help kids or whatever that thing
That's-
is that you have a passion for that you love.
That's right.
Yeah.
So many people, especially when they are in hard fights, when they're in fights for social justice, or when they're, in fights for environmental justice, and it just feels kind of hopeless.
Yeah.
And they feel like they're in a hard fight. It's not. If you really ask them, why are you doing this? It's because I love this earth. I love these mountains. I love this lake. I
Right.
love these people. It's really comes from love.
And the cool thing is we all have a love and a passion for different things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some people it's animals, some people it's kids, some people it's, you know, the climate, like you said, the nature. And that's a beautiful thing that we all have different reasons that we're here and causes that we're here. But it's about getting in touch with what is it that you're passionate about? What is it you want to change? What is
That's
it that
right.
you love?
That's right.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really about reframing that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas, let's say, you know, you got a health diagnosis and it looks like you really should lose some weight and you should change some of your eating habits for your health. Instead of thinking of it as, I have to do it, it's something I
Right.
have to do. If you can reframe it towards
Something that you want
something
to do.
that you want to do, something that you love to
positive
do,
thing.
or on behalf of your family, on behalf of, you know, your partner, that you say, okay, this is enough of a compelling reason for me to make this change, because change doesn't come easy,
Right.
and initiating change doesn't come easy, and it's often not quick, and so we have to have compelling reasons why we're doing it.
Right. Well, all I know is I'm not going to change. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
I beg to differ.
So before you wrote this book, you wrote another book that was really impressive, Donny and Ursula.
Yes, Donny and Ursula Save the World.
Right.
Uh-huh.
And I know where this is fact-based, that was fictional.
Yes.
Interesting, because most people usually, I think, write one or the other, but you've written some of each. And this fictional story is about someone who wants to become an activist.
Someone who absolutely does not want to become
does
an
not
activist,
want to become an
but
activist,
gets
okay.
dragged into it.
Oh, okay.
You know, the Donny and Ursula Save the World. Donny and Ursula are these two mismatched lovers who, through the power...
Never heard of that before.
Yeah, through the power of Eros. The whole premise of the book is that it's Eros that motivates all human action.
Okay.
And that we only ever do anything because of Eros. Although I define Eros not just as lust and sex, but as life force.
Yeah.
Again, as passion, the thing that we love on behalf of what we love. And so that is what motivates all the characters in this story. And it's a very wacky, sexy, political, off-the-wall story with a very serious
Yeah.
message and a very serious idea. So Donny and Ursula, mismatched lovers who, through the power of Eros, end up becoming reluctant activists and saving the world from a plot by an agribusiness giant to own all the seeds of the world.
So this is really kind of similar to Monsanto.
Kind of, sort of, yes.
Yeah. I mean, you kind of were kind of worried. You told me that they might, like, you know,
Yes.
come
yes.
after you.
As
you know?
I was doing the research for
Yeah.
this book.
I mean, they're
and
powerful.
they're very powerful. And as I was doing the research for this book, I was
and,
making...
and just for people that don't know, Monsanto, you know, it's big into the pesticides and whatnot. And you know, people are concerned about what's going into our food because of them, as opposed to people wanting organic food. And this is kind of the dilemma.
That's right. We're talking about the whole genetically modified seed
Right.
issue,
Right.
where a lot of people don't even still know about GMO seeds, but GMO seeds are genetically modified seeds that are intended to grow that they're intended to grow, and they use a lot of pesticides and herbicides to accompany the growing of these seeds.
And some people think that's why more and more people are getting cancer and things of this nature.
Yes,
You know, of course, you know, there's two sides to that. Some people don't think that, but research is showing that's the case. Yes.
Yes, because you know, GMOs have not been around long enough to do long-term studies, but short-term studies are definitely showing that there's a real danger in growing our food in this way. And so
and this is different than how food was grown for our grandparents, even.
Yes.
Even in our lifetime,
That's right.
It's changed how we grow our food.
How we grow.
And FYI, the number of cancer, patients and stuff has gone up. So that's why people are saying, hey, there must be a correlation here.
Yes,
Like we've changed the food we're ingesting. More people are getting cancer and other things. There must be some correlation, and that's what people are concerned about.
Yes, they're seeing a lot of food allergies too. They're seeing a lot of...
Now, the GMOs are not used as much in other countries, right?
Yes, in fact, there are 67 other countries in the nation that have banned GMOs, including Canada, including all of Europe.
Right.
And the United States.
So for people to say, poo-poo this is like, no, this is real. Other countries have banned this.
Yes.
It's kind of amazing that we haven't.
We haven't. And, a number of states have tried to pass laws that will at least require labeling. At least that. If,
Right.
Let people choose for themselves.
Right.
And
Right now, you don't know what you're eating.
Yes, and each one of them has been defeated, except Vermont passed theirs, and and then they took it into Congress to sign an act that would not allow that law even to come into effect.
So they don't have it in Vermont either.
Well, it had the law was about to take place, and they signed legislation that will keep that from happening.
Okay.
And so you have to wonder, if there's so much money being put to keep
Yeah.
food from being labeled, it can't just be benign.
Yeah. And I was shocked that someone like Starbucks, who I always thought was really cutting edge and cool, has teamed up with Monsanto and now serves that food there. And
Well,
that's
it's
kinda
not that they've
disappointing.
teamed up with Monsanto. It's that they are allowing,
products.
they are using products that are, derived from, if not directly from GMO seeds, from cows that eat GMO feed.
Right.
And so it's not that they're in bed, it's just that they are allowing it because they're less expensive, they're mass produced. It's not just GMOs.
But it's cost versus our health.
Yes.
And our longevity and our quality of life.
That's
so
right.
it is a very important topic. I'm so happy that you've written both of these books.
Mm-hmm.
They're both important things that we need to be thinking about. In fact, we need to implement change into our food process.
Absolutely.
So there you go. Let's tie the two together.
Yeah.
Yeah. So thank
Yes.
you so much for being on today's show.
Oh, thank you so much.
We have your website up, which is SharonWeilAuthor.com or
Yes.
author Sharon Weil.
Sharon Weil, author.
SharonWeilAuthor.com.
Yes,
And so they can check out your books, and we look forward to the next one.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. We'll be right back with Dimple Thakkar.
Do you want to have more passion and purpose in your day-to-day? Are you yearning to ignite your power within? Now, more than ever, the world needs women who dream big, inspire others, and are living their greater purpose. There's never been a better time to up your game and make your success happen now. Contact Danny Rukin for a complimentary consultation and find out more about how you can become more effective, energized, and empowered while making a difference in doing what you love. Go to www.dannyrukin.com. The Live, Love, Thrive radio show is produced by 360karma.com. Are you a 360 Karma woman? If so, spread the word. Be sure to follow us on social media at 360 Karma Women on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please like us and share us with family and friends. This is the year of the woman, and we are stronger together. The Live, Love, Thrive program is brought to you in part by Honda of downtown Los Angeles, supporting the equality and empowerment of women. Fans of the Live, Love, Thrive radio show, join us for our Live, Love, Thrive conference in Los Angeles on November 12th, 2016. This will be one of the most dynamic and interactive conferences in the country regarding equal pay and the shift of putting more women into positions of influence. Plus, incredible speakers, music, and life-changing tools to help you find your life purpose and create your legacy. Get your tickets now at www.livelovethriveconference.com.
And we are back with Live, Love, Thrive and Dimple Thakkar. Hello. Hi there. So happy to have you on the show. You are an amazing entrepreneur.
Thank
and
you.
an inspiration to a lot of young women. You have so many awards, I wouldn't even know where to start, but let's mention a couple of them. I know just recently you won the Asian Business Award from Los Angeles Business Journal.
Yes, that's true.
That's very cool. And that was your outstanding business
Yeah,
executive?
the award was titled Outstanding Asian American Executive, and I was just a proud moment to accept that because of my heritage, because I'm a woman, because I'm relatively young.
Yeah.
That's going to change in a few years, unfortunately.
How old are you?
33 right now. It just
33.
turned a few weeks ago.
So I know everybody be curious, I'm sure, because I find you had the most interesting way you got started.
Yeah.
You were a groupie for a band.
Sure, you could call it that.
Right?
Yeah, I was before social media was social media, people typically hung out on online message boards.
Right. Okay, now you're dating yourself.
Yeah, basically, right? I'm happy that I have a good balance between the old school and the new school in my life. And so I was a moderator on this message board, and I was just as a fan of the band, just running promotions
And
for
what
fun.
band was that?
It was a band called OTEP, O-T-E-P. It was actually a female-fronted hard rock band.
Oh my gosh.
And so
That's cool.
you can see why I gravitated towards them over the other bands that are out there. And so the management team contacted them and said, "Who's doing all these great promotions for you?" And they said, "Dimple." And they're like, "Does she want a job?"
Oh my God.
And next thing you know, fast forward 6 months after graduation, college, I'm working at a marketing agency in New York where we have huge clients like Britney Spears and Justin Timberlake and big tech companies like Photobucket, for example.
Yeah. Oh my God. That must have been so exciting.
It was.
Right out of college, working on that kind of campaigns. That's really cool.
Yeah, it was fun.
And so, what made you decide to move across country and start your own business? Like, that's huge.
Well, the company, unfortunately, was a startup, and as most startups, they crash and burn. And plus, it was 2008, and everything was crashing and burning.
Right,
You know,
yeah.
so and I always wanted to be in the music industry initially, but in LA, not in New York. There's just something about LA that was really attractive to me.
Yeah.
And so I said, okay, well, you know, this company is no longer in business. It's time to make a career move.
Yeah.
And so I found a new job in Los Angeles. And I started in the music industry, but I realized, you know, speaking of change, you know,
Yeah.
referencing the earlier segment, I realized that I didn't really love it. I liked being a fan of it, but I
Yeah.
didn't really care for the business side of it so
Right.
much. So
What did you think you wanted to do?
I was going to do talent management,
Oh.
which I thought would have been nice because you get the business acumen, plus I had the marketing skills to back it up, and I
Right.
thought it could make me a sharper manager because of that.
Right.
And then I realized, like I said, I like the more corporate side of things. I'm just a huge nerd and geek at heart, so I
Yeah,
wanted to be
you
with
are.
people.
In a good way.
In a great way, you know, there's no shame in it at
Yeah.
all. And so I just wanted to be a person that talks about numbers and data and this, and no disrespect to the music industry, but there's just a little bit too much partying and other stuff
Yeah.
going on that I didn't really care for.
Right. And
So-
that kind of goes back to your roots. I know you grew up in an Indian family. They
Yes.
came here from India.
Yes.
And started a grocery store, right?
It was a convenience store. It
Convenience
was like
store?
a mini Target.
Yeah.
We had a little bit of everything there.
Wow. But I know you told me as a kid you were working at a very young age.
Yep.
Yeah.
I think as back as young as 5 years old.
Wow.
Yeah, I was doing like little things, and then it turned into bigger things like 50 boxes of shipment, unpack it, price it, put it on the shelf, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah.
that sort of thing, running the cash register.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, it was summer vacations because otherwise I was in school. I would be working 12 hours a day, 7 days a week with my parents.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you told me that's kind of where you started your business acumen. So, you know, it's always funny, those things we hate as a kid, probably you were like, I want to go out and play with everybody else. But it actually is the things that we don't like sometimes, or the challenges we had, that end up being a blessing later in life. And so I think, you know, that's kind of how you explained it to me, was that, you know, it created a good business acumen for you. You're very buttoned up, and you know, that's why at such a young age you've created such a successful business. It's been around now 6 or 7 years, 8 years?
8 years now.
8 years, yeah.
8 years.
That in
So-
itself is amazing.
No, it's 100% true that, you know, not to seem like I was always working. They would give me breaks to go hang out with the neighbors' kids and things like that. But
Yeah.
mostly was
Since
working.
he'll be watching, we better cut him a little slack, right?
Yeah, sorry, Mom, Dad. But
I think we have a picture of your family, and they're pretty, they sound awesome. They
they're
sound like-
great. They're
I know I
great.
met them once. They're wonderful people. Yeah.
I think the pictures from the 5-year anniversary party that
Yeah.
you were there. So no, that's a lot of the work ethic comes from the business that my parents owned and just everything I learned.
Yeah, coming
And-
from entrepreneurs. and-
Yeah, exactly. And so carried over a lot of skills and even, you know, honed down on my own strengths. And, you know, now I'm a combination of them and a combination of things I've learned just from my own experiences.
Right. But you seem to take to this social media like a fish to water. I mean, it's just second nature to you, and that's a gift, especially in this day and age when it's so crucial. And I know you work with some very interesting clients, one of which we spoke about was Next Gen. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Because I know
Sure.
that's very cutting edge.
Yeah. Next Gen Crowdfunding is what they're called. And they've basically taken a role in educating entry-level and new investors in this new type of crowdfunding. It's called equity crowdfunding.
Right. Yeah,
And
it's
so
very interesting.
so the SEC approves rules Title III and Title IV, and what it does is it allows companies to raise money in the way you could with rewards-based crowdfunding, but in exchange for rewards, you're actually giving people equity. So it's not
Right.
Kickstarter; it's a little bit more than that. And so
And this just happened a few months ago, right? That this was legal for small companies to do equity crowdfunding, right?
Right. So
Very new.
What I've heard is it's been talked about for years, but the rules finally passed. And so because it's something that's so new, there's a lot of education that needs to go into it on both ends. The companies, how do they get to a point where they can launch an equity crowdfunding campaign? So that's one side of the education. The other side of the education is how do investors, people who are unaccredited, get involved. You have to learn the risks, the rewards. What do you have to get into? What do you have to know before you start putting money into this and investing in it?
Right.
And so Next Gen Crowdfunding is doing that.
So where public companies you sell like shares on the stock market in their companies, or if you invest in a private company, you have to have a certain minimum amount of money, I think $1 million or something like that. But with this, it's something new that allows small investors to get in and have a piece of a startup through this equity crowdfunding, right?
Right, exactly.
I know enough to be dangerous, but
in the investment process, you go to a platform like a Kickstarter or an Indiegogo, except there's a whole lot more information you have to sift through, and you have to know the risks once again. And with any investment, not just an equity crowdfunding-based investment. So what they're doing is pretty cutting edge, and we actually have an event coming up on September 21st. It's called an Ignition event, and it's where companies who are raising money through equity crowdfunding pitch their campaigns.
right. Okay, so that's cool. And so if there's people out there that have ideas and they were thinking about doing crowdfunding, they may want to look into this equity crowdfunding, selling shares in their company to raise money.
Yeah, as an option, absolutely.
Yeah. What kind of companies do you think this would be good for?
I think statistically speaking, I've seen a lot of companies in the food and beverage world doing really well initially with equity crowdfunding.
Do you know of any in particular we would know?
Not offhand, but I believe if you go to their website, they have archived versions of the last Ignition event, and there's two companies
Next
there.
Gen?
Yeah, there's actually one called Bloomery Sweet Shine and another one called actually I don't remember it, but
Is it
there are two.
nextgen.com?
Nextgencrowdfunding.com.
Nextgencrowdfunding.com. It's
Yeah.
really something people should be educating themselves on because it's so new, so exciting, so innovative. And NextGen is doing a great job of educating people about it. So these events are a wonderful opportunity to learn about this new way to raise money for entrepreneurs and startups and whatnot.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they have all types of events. Some are Ignition events, some are just webinars. You can go on their website and see all kinds of stuff.
Cool. What is some tips that you have for business startups, being that you are like the social media guru? What would you say is the crux of making a business successful today with regard to social media?
You know, with any business owner, and you could focus on social media or any industry, I think reputation is everything. You know, everyone can provide good customer service. Everyone can provide a great service. Everyone can do all these things. But at the end of the day, what are people saying, not to your face, but behind your back? When the doors are closing, you're not in the room. What are people actually saying about you and your company and the services?
Right.
And reputation is what drives referrals. Reputation is what keeps you in business. That's the definition for me when it comes to longevity. And so I think
Yeah,
that's
I know
really
you really
important.
pride yourself on that.
I do. There's just sometimes you'll meet companies, for example, where they've just been funded, they're very excited about it, and now suddenly they have these huge demands to make the investors happy, and they start cutting corners, and sometimes they even burn bridges because of that. And they're not maybe even noticing that they're doing
They
it.
don't realize
But you
it.
need to stop
Yeah. What would cutting
breathe.
corners look like? Like, what do you mean by that?
You know, just like things like getting into a contract that you shouldn't have gotten into, for example. You know,
Not doing your due diligence.
exactly, exactly, things like that, or thinking you have the budget to invest in something but you don't. You know, those types of things happen a lot these days, especially when there's so much demand and pressure on these companies to become successful.
Right.
But what I say is, meet your demands, but also remember that you have a reputation that you want to create for yourself. Who are you as an entrepreneur, as a
Right.
business person? And if this endeavor doesn't work out, what's going to happen with the next endeavor? You want to make sure that the feeling that you had working with that person carries over, and hopefully that feeling is a good and positive one.
Right, right. That makes sense. So let's look at all of these awards that you've gotten. The 2012 Power 30 Under 30 Award. That was before you were 33.
Exactly.
The 2003 Synergy won the Small Business of the Year Award with the U.S. Chamber of Commerce. That
Yeah.
sounds pretty big.
Yeah, it actually was. And
Yeah.
it was nice because we were still sort of in an infancy phase. So to get recognized by such a large organization like the U.S. Chamber of Commerce was a great feeling. It kind of confirmed that I was moving in the right direction. I was doing the right things as a small business owner and entrepreneur.
Right.
And what's nice about winning the Small Business Award is
Yeah.
that people often think of the word small and small business as a disadvantage.
Right.
I've never thought of it that way. I've
Right.
thought of it as an advantage. It allows me to pivot and move a lot faster than my bigger, possibly well-funded competitors.
Right.
And so I take a lot of pride in being a small business owner. So that award in particular is very special.
I would think a lot of businesses, too, since they're really trying to do more minority business, that you are really fortunate in that arena, being a woman, being Indian, and so forth. Does that help you, do you think?
Yeah, I think it helps. And I mean, it's got pros and cons, just like
Yeah.
everything else,
Yeah.
you know? I've been in meetings where my age, you know, I could tell the person wasn't saying it, but I could see that they were thinking it,
Right.
or my gender, or whatever. And you
But
just
you
have
think
to
when
trudge
it comes
forward.
to social media, everybody would be thinking, I need a young person. You know?
They do.
Yeah.
But then what happens is they go for the young person, but you also need the person with the business experience.
Right.
And you just have to find that nice mixture of all those ingredients, because you can find that young person, but when it comes to actually generating revenue for your business through social media,
Right.
how are they going to do it if they don't have the experience? So it's tough finding the real social media experts versus the ones who call themselves that because they know how to log into
There's
Facebook.
a lot of that out
You
there,
know,
isn't
there's
it?
a lot of it, yeah.
I think it's the 80-20 rule in almost any industry, whether it's technology or real estate or whatever. 20% of the people are really awesome at what they do, and 80% really aren't. And so you got to find those 20%.
Yeah.
You know, it's the 80-20 rule.
And hopefully the 80%'s trying to get better.
Yeah, hopefully. I mean, this is about, who's stepping up and giving their A game. Not everybody gives their A game.
Yeah.
But I've always respected that about you. I know you give your A game.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, matter of fact, we, and this is for anyone who's thinking about hiring a social media agency, ask for case studies.
Yeah.
And we take it a step beyond case studies. I will actually give potential clients references. You can actually call my clients without me involved
Yeah,
and ask
yeah.
them anything you want about working with us.
Right,
I
without
have
holding them at gunpoint.
No
Yeah.
shame in that. Yeah.
So, what would you tell entrepreneurs today is the most important thing in their social media strategy? What are the most popular platforms now? And, what are we moving away from? What are we moving toward? Like, give us your expert opinion on that.
Sure. Social media now has matured to a level where you can actually track revenue. So start thinking about not reporting on likes and followers and things like that, especially with organic reach decreasing so much now. Start thinking about ways you can do end-to-end tracking on revenue generation.
When you say organic is
Non-advertising.
Right.
Yeah.
so you're saying the paid advertising is gaining traction over the organic.
If you do it right,
Yeah.
you have to know how to target the ads. You have to know how to create the strategy behind it. There's even a bidding strategy. There's all kinds of things. But if you find a way to really get into the advanced tactics with advertising, you can generate revenue for clients.
Now, are we talking about Facebook or Twitter or Instagram or all of it? Or like, what's the newest platforms, and what are we getting away from, and what are the strongest ones that you have to have a presence on?
for me, Facebook has always been golden just because I get the best ROI from it. Some people will start
Which is return on investment.
Yeah, exactly. Return on investment. Mostly also because Facebook gives me the best tools as an advertiser to do all the tracking.
Right. Like
Twitter,
I find if we put a video, we get way more views on Facebook than any other platform.
Yeah, and that's the organic marketing actually. And so they are giving a little bit more weight to video because it's probably a little bit about competing with YouTube. So that's why they're giving the video a little bit more weight.
Right.
But yeah, you have to know these little tips and tricks to kind of really optimize, your time and investment in these platforms. So, and Twitter is a good second place. They've also got some really great advanced tools for tracking things. I also see that a lot of users are gravitating towards Snapchat. And so, but the problem with Snapchat is there's really nothing you can measure except views.
Right.
And even that's kind of hard to see sometimes. And it's all video based. It's all verticalized video.
Yeah, I'm not as familiar with Snapchat, but is that like a younger demo? Or?
It was when it started, but now it's starting to really...
So I better get with it?
You might want to, yeah.
And would you say those are the main core, the Facebook, the Twitter, Snapchat, and Instagram?
Those are all the main ones, yes. However, I recommend we go based on your business model. Which one's going to work the best for you? Are you a company that focuses on hobbies and special interests? Maybe Pinterest is better for you.
Gotcha.
Are you a company that's heavily visual and lifestyle? Maybe Instagram's great for you. I don't recommend being on every single platform. You'll spread yourself too thin. It's too much content to produce. It's too much everything.
So you think pick 2 or 3 and
pick
hit
2 or
it
3
hard.
that fit your business model the best and hit it hard.
Yeah. Tell me about your favorite campaign. Like, what's something innovative you've done that you're very proud of?
I would say a client of ours, Susan G. Komen, Los Angeles County, has been a client that's been with us for several years. They're near and dear to my heart, and they actually gave us a pretty nice sized budget to promote their Race for the Cure.
Right.
And they saw a really good return on investment on that. And
now, how do they do a return on investment for a fundraiser like that? So how much money they brought in from their social media?
Yeah, so there's 2 parts to the Race for the Cure. You register to race, and there's a 5K and a 10K certified. And then once you register to race, you raise funds as a team or an individual.
Right.
And so all that money is then gathered and then used for energizing the science behind fighting breast cancer, cures, or maybe finding research to help us find more cures.
And I know this is your give back.
Oh, yeah. I've always seen this client as a hybrid of us being a vendor to them.
Right.
But also a lot of volunteering goes into it, too. I mean, for Race for the Cure, we're getting up, when the season comes in, we're getting up the 2nd or 3rd Saturday of every month. And we're at a 9 a.m. meeting in Pasadena discussing everything behind the event, the operations, the marketing, the volunteers that come and show up. I mean, it's a big process. I mean, it's Dodger Stadium, 10,000 people.
Yeah, I always have like having people on the show that I call 360 Karma Women, and that's what you are. It's successful women who are doing something to give back, and I know that's your cause. Is there a particular reason that you picked that cause? I haven't asked you about that before.
No, they came to us and they wanted, some social media. And I've never, thank God, I've never had anyone in the family, affected by breast cancer specifically. Cancer, yes, but not breast cancer.
Right.
However, by being, a part of this group for the last 5-6 years now, I've come to meet survivors, co-survivors, children of survivors, their family, their friends, and so you become a part of that community, and you become so invested in it that you want to do the best work you can. Yeah.
So you recommend people come out and support this foundation, I'm sure, and I know a lot of people do participate in the walk. Do they have that once a year?
Once a year, it's in March, and then the big event they have coming up is during Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which is October.
Okay.
So on October 22nd, they're having the Culinary Showdown at the Hollywood Lowe's Hotel. We're going to have 5 celebrity chefs.
Oh, fun.
And you can register to join the event, and then the top 50 fundraisers get to join forces with one of the celebrity chefs, and then we have like a Food Network style cooking competition.
Oh, fun.
So for any hardcore foodies or cooks out there, this is a great way.
This is the event, huh?
This is the event where you can
How do they get tickets?
You just go to ComenLACounty.org/cook, and then you can learn everything you need to know about the event, and you can also register there as well.
So all these celebrity chefs are going to be there cooking, and you can get a ticket, go have the fun. and be given to a great cause.
Absolutely, 100%.
That sounds cool. That's one thing I love about LA. It's a foodie town. So if you're going to go to a foodie event, this is the place to go.
Absolutely.
Yeah, amazing chefs. Are you a good cook?
No.
Me
Breakfast,
neither.
yes.
I remember you
Breakfast.
telling me about some good apps. You're my app girl. Yeah, what's the ones that you told me about that we could get deliveries?
Yeah, so as an entrepreneur, very busy. So on-demand delivery services have been my go-to. I have Instacart that brings me my groceries. I have Postmates that will bring me anything I want.
Yeah.
I remember I had to do a speaking.
Anything?
Anything.
Wink,
I remember.
wink.
You're right. Actually, yes.
Don't go there.
I actually had a speaking event, sort of like this one, where I needed a black pair of jeans, and I had Postmates go and grab me a pair. I just told them
love it.
exactly what I wanted.
Oh my God, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's a lot. There's also a new one called Buddy Truck, and they'll deliver any item to any location. And so
my
when you're selling
gosh.
things on Craigslist or whatever, and it's a big item, you can hire a Buddy Truck to transport it for
To
you.
deliver it.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, there's a lot. I have a list. You email me and I'll send you the secrets.
I know. I wanted to share some of those today because I know you're the queen of the apps.
Yeah, and I have a little OCD with time. I want to make sure my time's always being used well. Do I want to stand at the grocery store for an hour?
Right.
Or do I want to just have it sent to my house while I'm working or taking care of a client, for example?
Yeah, these apps have really changed our lives, haven't they?
Yeah, we're spoiled.
Yeah, but that makes so much sense. You're right. Like, why take an hour out of your day to get in your car, go to the grocery store, or go pick up dinner when you could be getting something done and have it delivered? And I'm sure the money you're making outweighs the cost of
Yeah.
the delivery or whatever. So I think it's a smart businesswoman's move.
Yeah, it's the difference between going to bed at a normal time or a couple hours later.
Right.
So it all benefits you in some way, shape, or form. I think.
And I know you mentioned that you're working on an app. Can you share that with us, or is that kind of in the secret mode?
No,
or?
yeah, it was just a concept thing, and because the concept isn't really solidified, there isn't really much to say about it except hopefully I'll get around to it one day.
I know if it's your idea, it's going to be amazing.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where time is so hard to come by. Yeah, it's precious.
Oh, that's what I want. I want an app that gives me more time. Can you make that happen?
That would be incredible.
Let's
Sign
make
me up.
that. I'll take it. Give me 2. Oh my gosh. Well, we definitely could come up with some good ones, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think so.
So, what's next for you? What is exciting is on your agenda for the future?
Well, I've been thinking a lot about what does all this mean? The awards, the great business achievements, and so I've been thinking a lot about legacy. You know, what is this all gonna mean when everything is said and done? And so I've been really thinking about more ways to give back, more ways to elevate how I am as an entrepreneur. I'm thinking about joining the board of directors for a nonprofit.
I love that.
Which would involve building a monument in West Hollywood. It's called the National Foundation for an AIDS Monument.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
Yeah, and
that'd be wonderful to be on that board.
Yeah, that'd be great to be on that board. And so hopefully that happens. We're in talks, and then I've been doing a lot of things on a personal level too. I've been crazy about my tennis. I just joined a league.
Oh, fun!
So I've got like 2 to 3 matches a week now, and
yeah, I know. You told me health is top of your list in your focus.
Yeah, I've been dropping weight.
You gotta have that balance.
Yeah, I've been dropping weight little by little. I used to be an athlete in high school. I just want to get back to that place. I love it so much.
Oh, we all do.
Yeah, on the court, I think I'm Serena.
I'm sure you are. An Indian version.
It's all about what's in the head.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I wish you so much luck with everything you keep
Thank
doing.
you.
And I think it's great that you're giving back. I know you speak at various things, and people can go to your website.
Yeah.
Which
Absolutely.
is
Synergy.com, but it's spelled SYNHERGY.
I love that. So Sin and then her G.
A little
which,
subtle girl power in there.
I love that. Synergy. I think it's very clever. And I have to have you back sometime just so we can find out about how you got that awesome name of Dimple. I love it.
Don't ask me where they are.
That's so cool. How did your mom get that name?
You know, it's actually, from what I know, not too sure about the meaning. I think it means what we know it to mean in English. I know there's a Bollywood actress with the name Dimple, and everyone
I
always
love
references
it.
it back to that. I do think it's an Indian name because there are many other Dimples out there, believe it or not.
Really? Well,
yeah.
you're the only one I know, and I'm happy to know you. And I think it's a cool name, and
Thank
you're
you.
my social media rock star.
Thank you for having me.
You bet. All right. Well, we'll see you guys next week. Tune in at the same time on UBN at noon on Wednesdays. Make it a great week. Hugs and happiness.
Do you want to have more passion and purpose in your day-to-day? Are you yearning to ignite your power within? Now, more than ever, the world needs women who dream big, inspire others, and are living their greater purpose. There's never been a better time to up your game and make your success happen now. Contact Danny Rukin for a complimentary consultation and find out more about how you can become more effective, energized, and empowered while making a difference in doing what you love. Go to www.dannyrukin.com. The Live, Love, Thrive program is brought to you in part by Honda of downtown Los Angeles, supporting the equality and empowerment of women. The Live, Love, Thrive radio show is produced by 360karma.com. Are you a 360 Karma woman? If so, spread the word. Be sure to follow us on social media at 360 Karma Women on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Please like us and share us with family and friends. This is the year of the woman, and we are stronger together. Fans of the Live, Love, Thrive radio show, join us for our Live, Love, Thrive conference in Los Angeles on November 12th, 2016. This will be one of the most dynamic and interactive conferences in the country regarding equal pay and the shift of putting more women into positions of influence. Plus, incredible speakers, music, and life-changing tools to help you find your life purpose and create your legacy. Get your tickets now at www.livelovethriveconference.com.